All right, here we go again. Buckle up, rougher roads ahead. So, my phone ran out of charge, so I'm on my tablet. No, there was no way they were allowed to do what they did to me, and it is run by spy masters, whether they're officially CIA or not. They're CIA trained spy masters, and they destroyed this country. They don't believe we have a right to live. That's how their psychology works. And we being just United States citizens, you have to be part of their clique before you become a full-fledged human. They're very sick. I mean, they're sick, man. So I'm kind of in a hell type thing right now, and they know it. Again, it's not God, it's them. And I think they chose this day because there's no sun. Now, I wasn't baiting them. I was just helping you, if anybody could hear this, understand how to run through these things. And help you, because in life you can get what they call the winter doldrums. So it's like a winter doldrum day, and they attacked. Again, a spy master told them today would be the day to attack. That could be your chief of police. I don't know how dirty she is or dirty he is, whatever organization you're with. Again, the CIA has promoted people. The FBI gets the buzz, they bring them into the academy, and they become a big cop. Right? They go to their leadership school. It's a scam. The FBI Academy, where they bring in and your chief or your assistant chief or your sheriff or your deputy sheriff or your chief deputy, and they train. It's a scam. They're part of the deep state at that point. That's what that means. So anybody, I mean, there's isolated cases where they're not, but anybody that's been accredited by the FBI as a law enforcement officer leadership is most likely deep state. Probably a 90 percentile at least. It's the first day of Trump's administration, isn't it? Might as well get down to the truth. So over the last 4 years, they've been torturing me away from getting health care. I still got to fight it. Well, because they're stalking me. As soon as they know I'm trying to get high blood pressure medicine, they're coming against it. And like I tell you, every person that said my blood pressure was acceptable, which it's still high, but I guess you can't give you medication until it goes to a certain level, right? Has taken it without a machine. So I can't tell you if it was an honest reading or somebody paid them. Now, there's doctors in the thing, there's no doubt. In fact, your doctor could be a CIAer. Could be a real CIA officer. And they'll say they're allowed to be there in your community because they're going to do some work later in life. It's a lie. It's a scam. So remember, Jonathan Luna, the coroner, said it was murder. The FBI decided it would be suicide. Yeah, the biggest suspects are FBI. I'll just tell you that. The biggest suspects into killing Jonathan Luna are FBI and FBI task force. Baltimore, Maryland. And that did include CIAers in the community. The CIA was out there hunting any law enforcement officer that they believed would not be corrupt. That's what was going on. Because they weren't going to allow any of that again, like Hansen and Ames. They were in. There's no way Hansen and Ames could go on as long as they did without being deep state. Right. Well, in their world, you tell them to stop and that's it. Everybody walks off. You're not allowed to prosecute. So let's go back. So I have So I have this running faucet that's causing me to cough. First, I had to figure out the cough wasn't a cough. It was just a response to to the running faucet of the postnasal drip. Right. So once I figured that out, and I figured out that postnasal drip really isn't COVID, I said, "Oh darn it! They got me from ordering my Allegra." I'm sure they do that. If they can get somebody in the store to buy like something you're trying to buy, especially a medication, they're sick. They blocked my Paxlovid. Again, don't let them make it about me. It's about them and what they do to people. So in the March service, we had a lot of asleep people. I was one of them. They take advantage of that. They're people. I had no idea what was happening. I just tried to ignore it and keep going because I'm just a hard worker and I work. Right. At a certain point, it became apparent that nobody was safe from these people, which means they were trying to cause an incident around me where somebody could get hurt. Right. There was a deal somewhere along the way to just let it go and bury it and everybody move on. They reneged. Right. Thank you, Larry. Because they were culpable also. Correct. Like when John, they got a little upset when John passed. Right. But when I also left, then they really freaked out. Right. Now they have a poker face around all of you, but they were looking at charges. I mean, there was congressional hearings over it. And the reason, this is the weird part, most likely the reason I was hit again and drugged is because of the hearings, but yet I didn't even know they existed. I was off in like a yoga mind at that point. The churches had already failed. Right. Well, actually, no, I think I still was with the church at that point. Right. And looking into the church. But this is all I was doing. Looking to make that jump to the next. You know, they wanted me to make the jump to porn star, and you'll see me joke about that over the years. Right. I was trying to make the jump to the clergy, but not right away. I mean, obviously there was a process of restoration that I needed to go through, which included probably a marriage, before I would be a preacher. Well, I all of a sudden could speak. I couldn't do this when I was asleep. I mean, I could have a class and teach somebody a class, but I couldn't preach. So again, you know, I'd like to it have not been what it was. And there was no choices, man. They don't allow choices. I wish it was just normal. There's no child that was ever in danger from me. Right. Now, they were in danger from all of you, and I was the target of your attempts to make me dangerous. Right. But that doesn't make me dangerous. Correct. It's a projection, man. If you don't want an answer to what you're saying, don't project. Projection exists, it's in the scriptures. It's my religious right to understand, believe, and speak about projections. Voices are in the scripture. It's my right to speak about them. And how some are errant, some are real, some are, just a thought, some are actually people actually hear audible voices, but not like out here. It's not like you're sitting in a room and the voice is over there in a corner. They tried to do that to me. When I would go into stores, they would say my name. They were screwing around. Again, it was a full-fledged CIA type psychological attack. To live, man. And just using their standard of who gets put to death. They're all part of it. Now they'll say that I'm a fool for not saying their names sooner. I mean, they're just sick people, man. Need to be ended. Need to be moved on. They can't have access to anything.
Right.
No, it's going to be an interesting day. You all started out off on the wrong foot. So I was pretty pleased when I took one Allegra, and within 12 hours, it kind of started having an effect. Yeah, it was, again, the whole thing was designed to curse me into a state where I would be overwhelmed. Right. And it did happen. But, it didn't kill me. Right. Well, all that time that they were operating me, they were psychologically operating my supplement program away, which included, the elderberry and the immune. I was barely taking a regular vitamin. I think I was getting it one every couple days or a few days. Again, it's a psychological torture program. And nobody's weak that, succumbs somehow to it. People are dead off of this thing. They deserve death, man. If anybody on the planet deserves death, it's these people. They've got your children raped and murdered. They've gotten people to commit suicide and family murder, suicide. Then they'll say, well, because he's saying this, he's dangerous. Well, yeah, I am to you, because you're one of the biggest crooks and biggest pieces of shit. You're all sick bitches. That's why I'm dangerous. Again, learn to read what they say. You need to fully investigate your fusion centers for operations, spycraft operations against innocent citizens. Don't let them tell you a citizen is guilty. Study what they're doing and understand the effects of it. Their programs have actually been condemned by real psychiatrists and real psychologists. A government psychologist or psychiatrist putting a blessing on a program is not real. They're fake. They're criminals. They're sick bitches. You'll find that's part of that feminization of the world. You'll find FBI psychologists that feminize. Sick bitches. I mean, it's sick, man. It's a dark world that they live in, and then they try to throw you into it. I told you all just to get away from me and let me live a healthy life. You could keep all the money. You could keep everything else. Just let me live a healthy life. It wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to keep doing it. They want to keep going. They want another Pacific Palisades. Or worse. They want another Ukraine, another Russia. Maybe we need to have it in downtown Kansas City. Maybe there needs to be a nuke that lands ground zero. Because they think it's funny to stalk and psychologically torture victims and break into their apartments and their houses. I was probably drugged, man. I was perfectly healthy. Within 2 days, I was sick. You need to have their heads ripped off, and you need to shit down their necks. They need to no longer exist. Poof. You can't trust a single cop in the world, Trump. Not a single one. Especially the ones that voted for you, because that's the scam. I got questions about Elon. It looks like he's become me, doesn't it? Did Elon pay to have me pushed out so he could take over my persona? Doesn't do it as well, of course. If Elon's one of them, then he deserves to have his head ripped off and deserves to have his neck shit. Somebody shit down his neck. It really does. He really does, if that's who he is. I can't tell you for sure because spies are manipulating everything. Right? But I'm just letting you know, you don't leave anyone, no stone unturned. Don't leave anybody out. You find out who they are. Don't let them tell you that that's powerful and it's how they won, how you won, because you never would have lost the other election. Again, but that started probably a year before. From what I can tell, I just needed to get to that one procedure. Like the first doctor I went to in Amarillo was the doctor that probably had the procedure to help me. Now I don't know if it still can be used because it's a timeliness thing. He kills that nerve in that lower lumbar, and then your back lets go. Right. But I couldn't get to it because I couldn't get to the massage that I needed to show me what was happening. Again, they were there psychologically operating day in and day out. Correct. Trying to addict me to narcotics is what they're doing. They'll be in hell, man. Every last one of them. Nothing's going to get them out of hell. So here we are with New York. Now, New York's not going to help us. And actually, he said he can't help us. So something's going on. You have to learn how to read this. He said he can't help us, but when he described the requirements of the sanctuary city, the program we described in the initial phase still fits him helping us. Correct. So why can't he help us? Dude, something's up. Narcotics distributors, sex traffickers extorting them. Thank you, Larry. The law is the law, but the law says anybody that's a criminal pretty much they can still help us. Correct. There's something else going on. What do you think's going on? Everything that I told you was going on. New York City is run by narcotics distributors and sex traffickers. And they just told the mayor and the chief of police that they weren't going to help you with immigration enforcement. Correct. But it's the same people here in Johnson County attacking my life instead of going out on the street and doing their work, instead of helping somebody by delivering medicine a few miles. They're just sitting there going to fuck somebody off all morning. Got nothing better to do, sit there with their coffee and fuck people off. That's what we pay them to do. Sit in their office and fuck people off, or sit in their car and stalk victims and fuck them off while they laugh with FBI agents and marshals and everybody else. Because they're all going to be millionaires one day for lying and putting fake cases on people. Every one of those people in social media needs to be heavily investigated at the CIA level investigation, but you can't just trust anybody to investigate them. TikTok is probably the only place where they're not. Do you get that? Have you figured it out? TikTok is probably the only place where they're not. Have you figured that out yet? They want to take it over. You see? That's what it's about. TikTok is the only place where the criminal government people don't own the entire app. Facebook is full of criminal government people. That's their payment. X, full of criminal government people. That's their payment. For murdering Jonathan Lunas, for murdering Larry's if they could. I told you, just walk away. You took everything in my life. Just leave me with my health. And you took that as a challenge? What sick bitch world takes that as a challenge?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry.
Now you have to understand, they're using college kids to indoctrinate them into this thing. We got sick bitches all over the country, and they need to be ended. You need to find them, and then either stand down from everything they're doing, or they just need to be ended, whatever you need to do, from the CIA, from the FBI, in reality, when Kash Patel takes over. and the others. Right. Well, they wanted to partake in the forbidden fruit. Anybody that has access to the forbidden fruit needs to be so afraid of that forbidden fruit that they never use it. And if they still want to use it, then they end. That's just the way it has to be. They told them it was investigative techniques. This is how they do it. Psychological torture, investigative techniques. Disruption technology is a nice term for what the CIA uses. So they could say that it's FBI, not CIA. They use disruption technology to block me from medication. So what they say when I say that is, well, if he wasn't a criminal, he would have pushed through and he would have got to the medication. They're lying. They're Nazis, man. They're using Mengele science. Joseph Mengele. Rick Henry's a Joseph Mengele. FBI agents working for Facebook are Joseph Mengels. This is really what's going on. God will continue. When you least expect God to attack you, God will attack you, just like in Pacific Palisades. I'm sure Karen Bass is one of them, or she wouldn't be there. What they tried to do is get me to move to California. But because they had trashed me so bad here, I was in no condition to move to California. They thought it was going to be funny. I moved to California and they do it to me in California. Is that what you say? Your police officers are Jesse Smollett. They deserve to go to hell. 100%. That's why Jesse Smollett never got convicted, because everybody's doing it. Everybody that's anybody. I walked off. I didn't start with anybody. I never said anything. Didn't want to say anything. Didn't want to know anything. Didn't want to know anybody from my past. They're just all devils. All they had to do was just shut up. I mean, they're the ones that didn't shut up. They're the ones that didn't keep their end of the bargain. No, you can't shut up when you're being psychologically tortured. They know that. That's one of their things. Right. Torture the person into speaking out and then say it's because they're speaking out. But I didn't speak out overnight. Took about a decade. More of torture. Again, I had already been tortured for a decade or two. All you had to do was stop all of you. That's all you had to do. I wasn't doing anything to anybody. They even had an agent pretending to be a disabled person, just so I'd be attracted to help them. No, they weren't testing me. Every last one of them knew I never had sex with anybody, and I never tried to have sex with anybody. Every last one of them knew that. So there was no need to see how I handle myself around a disabled person. But you know why they do that? Because they'll say he's disabled. No, he's not disabled, and he's taking advantage of disabled people. It's that easy to just say, smell it out, isn't it, coppers? Just say it, right? Party! God is not mocked. What you have sown and what you sow, you will reap in misery. Sadness and destruction. Sealed. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God.